Okay, it shows 68 viewers. This is good. This is good. Because I think we got it. Everyone on the new link. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Everyone on the new link. I hope so. I don't want to start until I feel confident that you guys are on the new link. On with the second link. Okay, I think we're on, you guys. Oh, gotta love technology. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. I don't know what happened to that first link. It like was way delayed. Okay, but we are here. Okay, welcome. This is National Sales Director Leah Laughlin, and I'm coming at you live from Ohio, from Dayton and Cincinnati area, and we are broadcasting to like, oh my gosh, 450 women across the U.S. From the West Coast all the way to our girlfriends snowed in on the East Coast. And I think we even have some international people joining us tonight. So I'm just super, super excited. You guys, I was gonna be really pumped and really happy to get 100 directors registered between my area and some Go Give sisters that we have. And so when we had 450, I think now pushing 500, I was pretty blown away by that. So it's been quite the journey, and we haven't even begun. And it's been quite the journey for this past week, just connecting with you guys and just making sure we've got everything set up for this to run really smoothly. And then the link doesn't work, but I think we are good now. And I've got a lot to cover in an hour and a half, so let's jump right in. And I did post in our Facebook group to post your hub selfie. Okay, I know some of you aren't with a hub and you just couldn't get together with other directors, and if that's the case, that's fine. But if you're with some sales directors and DIQs, if you guys could like take a selfie, post it in the comment where I just posted the flyer to put your hub selfie. I want to see you, and it's an encouragement to me to be able to see you. You can see me, but I'm all alone here in Ohio. And I would love to see you guys. So go ahead and do that. And I'll periodically check Facebook and check your selfies on there. And then I did want to do a little bit of recognition. You guys, my amazing assistant, if you want to thank someone or show your appreciation, show it to Melissa. She is our administrative assistant. She's like an organizational administrative like wizard. And she's been such a crucial part of getting this all set up. And so she put together your total retail sales, okay? I think it was yesterday I asked for your reorders, just your reorders, like how much you sold just this past week in reorders. And she added up the group together, you guys, and it was $44,500 that you sold in reorders. The reorders alone, it probably would be quadruple that if you added in all your new sales. And then I think only, maybe 100 people posted. So if you would have added everyone in the group and all your sales, you guys, I mean, we're talking like some serious product, moving some serious product. And that's an encouragement for me to see, and hopefully a reminder for you that this product sells. And it's such a significant part of your income as a sales director to sell the product and to make your 50%. and for that to be something that you're counting on as a part of your income each month. So I just wanted to say congrats with that. Check out all of the sales that were posted there. It's pretty incredible. Also, we had 92 people have a perfect score in the early bird voucher. Okay, if you missed the early bird voucher because you joined a little bit late or didn't quite catch that, that's okay. We've got 4 other vouchers we're going to be working on. We just did a quick early bird voucher just to get people in the game and get you rolling and get you focused. And we had 92 people score a perfect score on the early bird voucher. Now, these next few weeks, it's going to get a little bit harder. The early bird voucher was kind of easy, honestly. It was an easy one. And so points will start to separate here as we dig into the real work that I'm going to have you be doing with these vouchers over the next 4 weeks. You can check them out there in your workbook, and the link to submit your points is in the pinned post at the top, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So we do have some housekeeping. Okay, we've got some housekeeping stuff that I want to do, and okay, I'm getting all these notifications. I just want to make sure we're still working here. The first link will stop in a few minutes. Okay. Last year, I can see you and hear you. Yes. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're still good. Let me pull up Facebook here. Thank you for all of you who are voxing me and texting me and letting me know that we're good. This is helpful. Oh, should I have received something in email? Yes, you should have. Well, actually, you should have received something in our Facebook group. Okay. Well, it's recording, so if somebody doesn't quite catch it tonight, it will be recorded, so I'm not going to stress about it. Okay. Let's keep moving, you guys. I feel like I'm seeing squirrels everywhere, distracted by all these notifications. Okay. Housekeeping stuff. You guys, Facebook will be our primary mode of communication. Facebook, the Facebook group, not Voxer. I actually want to get away from using Voxer on here unless we absolutely have to, because I just want to respect everyone, and there can be a lot of notifications, and I want to respect people's time, and our whole focus here is the one thing, and so I don't want to do anything that would steal away your focus. In Voxer, it's really easy to do that in Voxer, and so please use Facebook. That's easier to control as far as your notifications go. And what I would recommend is maybe checking in twice a day. Check in the morning and in the evening, because I want you to stay active in that group. I want to create a sense of community and team spirit and camaraderie within the Facebook group. But I don't want it to consume your life, okay? Because I want you to focus. I want you to focus on the one thing that's actually going to build your business. So maybe check in a couple times a day just so you're involved and active and not missing any posts. But otherwise, you know, don't be checking your notifications all the time, because it can be a mega distraction. But please do use Facebook and steer away from using Voxer. The way I'm going to use Voxer is that Melissa, my assistant, I'm going to be creating training messages for her. She's going to be posting them in Voxer, and she's going to post just the raw audio link so that you can fast forward it if you need to. I know some people like to do that and just listen to me talk fast. And so you'll be able to do that. And then we'll also post it in Facebook too. Okay, so you'll have it in both places, whatever you prefer to access for listening to Voxer. But we will be leaving Voxer messages pretty much every day throughout this program. I'll give you the weekend as a break. So stay tuned on that, but please, please, please use Facebook. Stay away from Voxer. It's too many notifications that can get very, very overwhelming. Okay, so another thing I want to say is before you ask a question, okay, so if you have a question, before you ask, I want you to think through as to whether it's been already addressed or already posted. We are going to do our best to stay ahead of the questions and to provide you information before you think you need it. Okay, we're not going to be perfect at that, but that is going to be my goal, to stay ahead of the game and give you information before you feel like you need it, so that you're not having to ask and so that you're not having to wonder where certain things are. But here's what happens is we post something, somebody misses it, and then we get several questions about something that's already been addressed or already been posted. And so let's just all respect each other and think, okay, I've got this question. Has it been addressed already? Has it already been posted? Has it already been mentioned? Or has it already been answered? Okay, and just take some responsibility and ownership to find those answers. Now, if you can't find it, we by all means want to answer your questions. But before you just blast something out there, think through first, has this question been answered? Can I find it somewhere else before you ask the question? Okay, we want this to roll as smoothly as possible for you guys, and for that to happen, we need you staying responsible for the information that you can find on your own, okay? Also, feel free to Vox me throughout this program. You guys, I am all in for supporting you and growing your leadership and your influence. I am like all in for that. That's why I'm doing this, because I want to support you in doing that. But I will have a coaching approach to this Pacesetters program. And so let me tell you what that means. If you Vox me a question, I will most likely respond with the following question. What do you think you should do? Okay. I will probably answer your question with a question. Not because I'm trying to put you off, not because I don't want to answer. The reason why is because I am not Mary Kay Answer Lady. I don't want to be, and I don't have all the answers. And your solutions and your answers are far better than a solution I just give to you. Okay, I want us to be leaders who take ownership of our thinking and our problem solving, and who are active in creating our own solutions to our own questions. Okay, so I am happy to support you on Voxer, and I want to be connected. I do want to be connected, but just a little forewarning, I will probably answer your question with a question of what do you think you should do? Because I don't know all the answers, okay? And the answers are within you. You just have to draw them out, okay? Just wanted to give that disclaimer there. Okay, the book. Each week as a part of the vouchers, you're going to be sharing your takeaways with your senior and your national, or one or the other. And several of you, for whatever reason, don't have a senior or a national. And so I'm going to ask you to team up with a power partner or another director who's in this group, that you guys could team up maybe with somebody in your hub and share answers together and share takeaways from the book. You guys, if I had the capacity to listen to 450 Voxer messages, I would. I would do it. I promise you. I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing your takeaways and your aha moments. I just don't have the capacity. And so I need the space. I need the space in the schedule to run the Pacesetters and create quality content and quality training that I can give to you. And so I don't have the capacity to get through all the Voxers. And so I'm going to ask you, if I'm not your senior and if I am not your national, to team up with another sales director who's a part of the program and be buddies together, okay? All right, so I want to go into my goals and objectives for this program, and I'm loving all these selfies coming through. I hope my notifications, I probably should turn them off so it stops dinging so you guys don't hear it anymore. I want to see some of your pictures. This is awesome, you guys. I see some husbands in there. That is wonderful. Love it. Okay, thank you for posting those. I will look at each one of them when we're all done with this. So I want to go over my goals and objectives for this program, just so you can kind of know where I'm at and where I want to take us and where we are going to go together as a group. I wanted to start it after leadership, because I wanted to take the inspiration and the motivation that you got in LA, and I want to put it into action. Okay, one of the common things that can happen after we go to something like leadership in LA is we're excited and pumped, and then we come back to real life. and real life is challenging, and we don't experience this high and this inspiration in real life that we experience at leadership in a place like LA. And so I want to take that inspiration, that vision you got, that training that you got, and we're going to put it to action. We're going to like put it to work for the next 4 weeks. So that's one of my main goals. Also, the theme at leadership, or part of the theme, was be, do, have. You probably caught on to that they really wanted the training to be centered around that theme of be, do, have. And so I want to sort of continue that theme in this Pacesetters. Okay, so be is all about who you are becoming in the process. And 2 things can change your life. It's the people you spend time with and the books that you read. People and books. It will change who you are in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. People and books. And so in this group, I want us all be surrounded by amazing people and to influence each other in a positive way. And then I want you to read the book, because I think the book is going to change your life and help you to focus and help you to do the things that are producing growth that is evident in your business. Okay, that's the be. Then there's the do. We have to take action on what we're learning. And so that's why you're going to be sharing your takeaways and sharing what you're learning in the book. And that's why we have the weekly vouchers to give you some guidance on what to take action on and what to focus on. So be, do, and then have. I want us all to see growth that is evident over the next 4 weeks. And that is what we're going to share on Facebook. Throughout this 4-week program, I'm going to ask you to share your results. That's why I asked you to share your sales, because I want you to see what you can have. I want you to see what you can accomplish just in a short period of time in this business. And so throughout the Pacesetters, I will be having you share those things. Another goal of mine is just to provide really quality training so you can grow your leadership. I need to turn off my Facebook on my computer, you guys, because the notifications keep dinging and it's probably a mega distraction. Okay. I want to provide quality training so you can grow in your leadership. And so I did want to say, because I've gotten this question, that this is not a book study. The training that I'm going to be doing is I'm not going to be reading through the book or training on the book. The book is to be an over-guiding concept that we're going to touch on in the next 4 weeks, but the book really is for you. And you guys, selfishly, it was just the next book on my list that I wanted to read. So I'm like, okay, I want to read it. We'll do a Pacesetters about it. But this is not going to be like a book study or a book club on that book. I will apply the concept of the one thing, but it's more just for you to read and grow in and apply to your business, okay? What I'm going to do in these hangouts is train you, give you some meat and potatoes. I want to be a top sales director and future national sales director. Mary Kay, what do I do? That's what my training is going to be focused on, but not on the book. We do have a hangout scheduled with the co-author of the book. How awesome is that? Jay Papasan is the co-author with Gary Keller of The One Thing. We blew it up so much on Twitter with the hashtag The One Thing, and you guys tagged me in it, that he reached out to me and said, how can I help you promote this book and learn about this book? And I said, can you do a Q&A hangout when we're done reading it? And I want to ask you some great questions. And he said, sure, we'll do it. And so after this Pacesetters is over, you guys will do a hangout with the co-author of the book. How fun is that? Also, mainly with the book and also with what I'm going to train you on, I want us all to learn to focus. And to focus on the things that produce growth that is evident. Okay, that's what we want. We want growth that is evident in your unit, in your future national area. To do that, we have to focus on the things that produce growth that is evident. And so you have a new hashtag, my friends, and a new mantra. It is hashtag WTF. What the focus is your new hashtag, okay? What the focus? I want you to be asking that and saying that with every activity that you have to do, okay? Every email that you get, what the focus? Every phone call, every text, what the focus? I want you to be daily reminding yourself of what your focus is and what your one thing is that's going to produce growth that is evident. Okay, so we will be hashtagging WTF or what to focus throughout this. And I'm going to be a big part of my training is just teaching you how to focus on things that produce growth. And then, you guys, I've prayed about this, Pacesetters, throughout this whole past week, and for a few moments this evening, spent some time praying before we went live, just that this would be a turning point for you, that this Pacesetters program would be a turning point and a catalyst for new growth in your leadership and in your influence. And that this, what you choose to do right now and in the next 4 weeks, would have a significant impact on your seminar goal. Because I know that when we're seeing growth that's evident, one thing I do know is that that involves a lot of people. Okay, it's going to involve you, your family, your offspring, your unit. Especially as your unit size grows, it's going to involve more and more people. And so it's about impact and influence that you're going to have over these next 6 months. And I pray it's just a turning point for you, like a major, major turning point and a major, major catalyst for growth over the next 4 weeks. And I have prayed that, and I will continue to pray that over these next 4 weeks because we want to make an impact. I know that you all do. Okay, let me briefly go over the marketing hangouts, you guys. I want to go over the marketing hangouts. So all of the links, which we're going to pray that they are all working, are in the pinned post. Okay, they're in the pinned post at the top of Facebook. If you ever need a link, besides tonight, but if you ever need a link in the future, you will be able to find that in the pinned post at the top of our Facebook group. If you're on a device, you will actually have to click View Pinned Post. But if you are on your computer, it will pop right up. You're just gonna have to click Continue Reading for the whole thing to pop out. Okay, so all the marketing hangouts are in there. Here's something I wanted to mention. If you can't get someone on live, just switch her time to make it work as if she were live. Okay, so for example, we've got Sylvia at noon. I think all of our hangouts are at noon this week. So that's not going to work for everyone, obviously. And so pick a time that does work for her and have her watch it as if it were live. So if she's available at 4, have her say, okay, what time would be better for you, noon or 4? And she's like, I can't do noon, let's do 4. And so you just have her watch the link right at 4 as if she were watching it live. I think that's going to be I know that that's going to be a better method than just sending somebody the link and say, hey, let me know when you watch this, because they're going to put it off and put it off and put it off. And so you want them like watching it at a specific time. And if she watches it at 4, you're on the phone following up at 4:15. Now, we did these hangouts in the Daring Greatly series back in the fall. That was an area-wide Pacesetters we did with consultants and directors. And so we did this, so we've learned a couple of things of what works and what doesn't work. And so I'm going to share some of those things with you. And what we did last time is we sent somebody the link to fill out a survey afterwards. And that's where we were sort of losing people, is once we sent that link. And so what I think is the best practice, this was actually one of my sales directors, Alicia Barlow. She had this idea, and I think she did this in Daring Greatly, that you have them watch it live, and then you follow up with them live to get their answer, and you fill out the form real quick for them so that they're entered to win the clutch. But don't send them the link. Don't send them the link. You want to fill that out for them, okay? Because it ends up being just like too many links. Also, the deadline is midnight every night for each clutch giveaway. So tomorrow with Sylvia, we will accept all responses from when Sylvia goes until midnight. Those people will be entered to win the clutch. Now, can you still use Sylvia's Hangout link and still have people give their feedback? Yes, you can. But it's just going to be from noon to midnight that we will, that those responses will go in the pot for a name we're going to draw for giving away the clutch. Does that make sense? So you can still use it. You can still get people's feedback. They just may not be entered to win the clutch. And we'll do that every single day. Melissa will post the sorted responses. She's going to sort them in probably alphabetical order of the director's name. So you can easily kind of look up your name and find your people. Okay, so we'll try to be as organized as possible with that. And just a reminder that that link to fill out the marketing survey to get their feedback, that is just for people who are in this Pacesetters. It's not for your unit. Your unit needs to go ahead and use something else. Just because of the thousands and thousands of responses that we're going to get, we need to keep that number lower, and we want the people who are in the Pacesetters to get a chance to win the clutches. Okay, so you're going to need to do something separate with your unit. The most important thing is follow-up, having live follow-up and having it scheduled before she even watches. So before she even watches the hangout, she should know exactly what time she's talking to you afterwards to get her feedback so she can get entered to win a clutch. Like, she doesn't get entered to win unless she has a live conversation with you after she watches. That's how I would do it with your people. Because you've got to get that follow-up conversation in. And then the recorded links, you guys, you can use forever. I mean, they're going to be available forever and forever and forever. And so if you hear somebody that you think someone would really connect to, you can continue to use that link. Also, I do want to make the point that you don't have to use the Hangouts. It's not required as a part of this Pacesetters. If you've got a system that works for you and you just want to stick with that and you don't need anything new, then don't do them. Okay, there's no pressure from me. You don't have to do the Hangouts. And for your voucher points, you can just count live career surveys for your points. Okay, I think we about covered our housekeeping stuff. And now I want to jump into our training. Okay. I'm just making sure I'm not getting any crazy messages that you can't see me or hear me. Okay, no, I'm just getting really cute pictures. Thank you, you guys, for posting your selfies. This is so super fun. Okay. All right, so we're going to jump into the packet, you guys. And I am going to start with the first few pages of the packet. Let me tell you exactly which page. It's going to be page 4. And if you want to jot down answers as we go, that would be appropriate. But let me tell you on the front end that this portion is meant for you to really spend some time brainstorming and planning after this, because we just don't have time. I would keep you on here all night if we really took the adequate time to cover this. So that's why I'm going to go through these 6 systems that build an organization that's going to last. We're going to touch base on each of them. And then it's your job to really spend some time in focused planning and figuring out how to execute this idea. Because for the rest of the time, I'm going to talk about 6 systems that build an organization that will last. And the 6 systems, just to give you a brief overview, are your personal business, new consultant systems, meetings and events, career surveys with your unit and also personally, unit communication and recognition systems, and then coaching and moving people up. And so those are the 6 core systems that if you are the CEO, well, you are, and that's how I want you to think. Like, you are the CEO of your organization and your business. And these 6 systems are how you make it rain for your organization. It's how you make it rain. And so we're going to talk about how to strengthen these 6 areas so we're maxing out all the potential growth. It's common to just have 1 or 2 strengths, and then sales directors maybe let the other 4 or 5 kind of go. And so we're going to talk about having strength in all 6 systems. And we're going to figure out where your sweet spot is and how to hone in on that sweet spot and how to really make that sweet spot count. And we're also going to talk about areas of improvement and what to do with those and how to delegate those and how to bring people in around you who are strong in your weaknesses so that you can work in your sweet spot, but that doesn't mean everything else goes by the wayside. So we're going to talk about that too. And then we're going to talk about how to really make things systematic, because I believe that's how you experience greater growth and increased joy in the journey when your business is systematic. And I know I start to lose people when I talk about systems, and that's okay, but I'm going to try to bring you back if I've lost you because I'm talking about a system. There are personality styles who naturally love this stuff and get geeked out about setting up systems and being systematic and systematic thinking. Okay, and then there are personality styles who want to run naked down the street, screaming, pulling their hair out when you talk about this level of structure and systematic thinking. And so let me just say that I'm going to make it super simple. And I don't think anything that is effective is complicated. It's going to be super simple, super simple. It might take some thought and planning on the front end, but you will love your life and your business when it is running like a machine and you're making more money. Okay, you will love your life and your business when it's running like a machine and you can take things off of your plate and when you're making more money. And so if you wanted to do this when I started talking about systems, just hang in there with me, because I totally believe you want to make more money. And if you want to make more money, you just got to hang in there with me. And so we are going to learn to max out these 6 areas to make it rain for your organization and create tight systems for these 6 areas. So I'm going to walk you through each one of these. And let me just say that we could probably spend a couple hours on each one. We really, really could. If we wanted to like dig in there into the nitty gritty, we could spend a couple hours on each one, but we don't have that time. So we're going to do a brief overview, and then I'm going to give you some things to think about and process through on your own, so we can continue growth in these areas. I do believe you can experience success and bursts of growth without systems. I'm sure many of you have experienced that, and I have too. Success and growth without systems. But it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And we want you to build something that's going to last, something that has roots, something that can continue to produce and make you money when life happens. And it can keep going because you've created systems for it to keep going without you. And so you can unplug when and if you need to, and it can keep going because of the systems. Let's create something that's built to last. And so I do want you to start maybe on your paper to maybe, and this might help you as you process through them, rank them in order of strong to weak. And so your strongest would be 6, your second strongest would be 5, next strongest would be 4, 3, 2, 1 would be your biggest area for improvement. And so go ahead and just take a minute to kind of think through that. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From strongest to biggest area of improvement, go ahead and rank them. And it's personal business, new consultant systems, meetings and events, career surveys with your unit communication and recognition systems, and coaching and moving consultants up are the 6 systems. Okay. Personal business. We are going to start there. That's the first one I want to address because it's the foundation. It is the foundation. If you want a quantum leap, this is usually the answer. And it's all about leading by example. Leading by the example. That is Mary Kay style leadership. There's a lot of different styles of leadership out there. A lot of them are boss or managerial styles of leadership, which aren't really leadership. They're management, but they call them leadership. And I really believe Mary Kay style, lead by example, is the most truest, purest form of leadership. Lead by example, by example, by example. And how do we do that in Mary Kay? As sales directors, we work our personal business at some level. Now, depending on the season and where you're at with the growth of your unit and your future area, it's going to look different at different seasons. Okay, but it's still working your personal business at some level. It's the most foundational, yet the most commonly violated rule of leadership is lead by example. It is the most foundational. You build something strong on the rock, on a foundation, yet the most commonly violated rule of leadership is to lead by example. This is our favorite area. We like to pretend not to know what to do. This is our most favorite area to conveniently forget that this is what creates quantum leaps in our business. is our personal business. A strong personal business creates growth, gives you credibility as a leader, and also, and this was a big reason for me working my personal business as a top sales director, you guys, it gave me emotional stability. Emotional stability working my personal business. Sometimes that was the only reason I was doing it, is because I wanted that surety, that confidence, that peace of mind, knowing that I was giving it my all and that I was leading by example. I wanted to finish every seminar year knowing that I played all out and that I left nothing on the table, and I just gave it my guts. I knew the only way I could finish the seminar year knowing that I played full out for our goals was if my personal business was strong and consistent. And I knew that if it wasn't, on June 30th, I wouldn't feel great. I knew I wouldn't feel great. I would have regrets. I would be thinking, I wish I would have, or I could have, or wow, if I would have been consistent and strong all year, we'd be in a different place right now. I did not want to finish with those emotions on June 30th. I wanted to lay my head on the pillow, and no matter what happened with our unit, what happened or didn't happen, or what unit club we hit or what unit club we didn't hit, I had to know in my heart that I gave it my all. There's nothing I left on the table. And so to do that, I knew I had to work my personal business consistently and strong throughout the entire year, not just in June. And that gave me emotional stability and peace, you guys. And some months there was just nothing good happening in my unit. I mean, nothing was happening, or, everything was going wrong, or things weren't what I expected them to be, or my key people quit. I mean, there's any number of things you can get frustrated with in a month. So in the months that stuff was happening, I still had a peace of mind. And I still just kept focused, and I stayed the course, because at the end of the day, I knew I was controlling the controllables. And I would even ask myself, I'd say, Leah, what can you control and what's happening? Okay, nothing. Are you controlling what you can control? Yes, I've got a date book of 10 or more bookings. Sometimes that's all you can do. All you can do is keep your date book with 10 or more bookings and just rock those parties. And then that takes you to a new level of growth where things are happening in your unit. But it was just peace of mind for me to stay consistently on the date book with 10 or more parties. Okay, so I've actually coached several of my sales directors in my area through these 6 systems. And I'm going to talk through some things that have come up just in our conversations and things that have supported them in those conversations. So let me just address a couple of things before we move on to the next one. One was the mindset of this, and this was a kind of a quote that I really kept near and dear to my heart in my journey to NSD, is that you want to do now what most people won't, so you can enjoy for the rest of your life what most people can't. Okay, enjoy now what most, do now what most people won't, so you can enjoy for the rest of your life what most people can't. That was sort of my mantra with my personal business. I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it now. I would rather pay the price on the front end. And I believe, and I don't know this number, but I do believe there's a certain number of parties between you and NSD, or you and the top sales director trip, or you and your first unit club, or you and your first offspring or executive, or whatever your goal is. There's a certain number of parties. Let's just throw a random number at. Maybe there's 200 parties between you and NSD. Okay. Do you want that to take a year, or do you want it to take 5 years? And I just always wanted the faster way. I just wanted to do it faster. I knew I had to do X amount of parties. It was my choice with how quickly and how closely spaced they were. And so I knew the closer together my parties were, the faster to NSD. And that was my thought process and my strategy for the 5 years I was a top director leading up to national. I held on average 3 parties a week. Just 3 on average 3. That was it. But the thing is, I just did them every week, like week in, week out, month in, month out, quarter in, quarter out. I held 3 parties a week. I was just the hare. I was just steady and plodding along with my personal business. It wasn't anything crazy. I wasn't doing 100 faces a month. I wasn't doing, anything insane. I was just consistently holding 3 parties a week. And I did that for 6 years, from my starter kit to my debut as a national sales director. And 5 of those 6 years, I was a top director. And it was just non-negotiable. It was non-negotiable to me. Without fail, as sure as the sun would rise, I was out holding 3 parties a week consistently, week in and week out. It was just a habit. It was a habit that worked like a machine. I got to a point where I would have had to try harder to not book 10 and do a power start, so 30 faces in 30 days. I would have had to try harder not to do it than to do it, because it was just a part of my business, part of my work day, part of my work week. It was just this natural habit. And one great thing about a habit is that once you establish a habit, you don't have to give as much energy to it. Because I remember that first book 10. I remember that first power start. I mean, I felt like I had to move mountains to get that first book 10 done and that first power start done. It seemed virtually impossible to do those numbers. But once you do it, and you do it again, you do it again, you do it again, it's like a muscle. You just build that muscle. And it becomes easy peasy. And then all of a sudden, what seemed like moving mountains becomes this very simple task, like riding a bike. It's just like riding a bike, because it became a habit. And then I didn't have to put energy and willpower in that space anymore, which left energy and willpower to develop leaders and to develop a national area, because I wasn't putting a lot of energy into my personal business, even though it was strong and it was consistent. I did learn to work smarter over the years. Instead of just holding several parties throughout the week on weeknights, I really transitioned into mainly having a power day on Saturday. I would go and have a guest event, muffins and makeovers, in the morning, most Saturdays a month. Not every Saturday, but I would say 2 to 3 a month. I would hold a muffins and makeovers, and then I would often hold 2, sometimes 3 parties right after, bam, 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 right in a row. And then that was it. That was my day to invest in my personal business, you guys. And for me, I preferred having weeknights free. It freed me up in the week to be home with my family or to support my unit. And that power day concept really, really worked for me. And it allowed me to get a lot done in a small amount of time. Now, I did hold them at David's Bridal, so I have them all in one location. And if you can do that, I think it's a great idea, so that you can just knock them out one right after another without the drive time in between. And everything's all set up, ready to go. I was familiar with the environment. I felt great in the environment. All my inventory was there, and just knocked them out really quickly. So you may create more capacity for work by working a little bit smarter or doing a power day. And also let's see, there's maybe 2 more things I want to mention about your personal business. And one of them is to learn to and remember to really communicate passion for what you do when you're at your parties. I know when you've done them so long, or you've done so many and you just know the routine, it can easily become just like going through the motions and kind of going through a checklist. But we've got to learn to communicate vision and passion for our goals and for this opportunity, because people of passion are people of influence. And you want to ask the question, would a woman want to leave a high-paying job to follow you? And is she catching that about you at your skincare classes? Would a woman want to leave a high-paying job to follow you? And when she decides that is when you're in front of her at her party. And so you'll want to communicate passion. And if you feel sort of lifeless or dead about your business, or you feel like the passion is gone, pray for it. Pray that God would give you passion and a new vision and a new fresh sense of excitement for your business, so that you're intentionally communicating that through your I story, through just who you are and how you build rapport with people, through how you present the marketing information at your parties. You want the passion and intensity for your vision to be like oozing out of you. And you want it, that is so attractive to people, and women want to follow women, and you become more of a woman of influence when you can work with passion at your parties. Next is to learn to book from your bookings. I know this is just like basic consultant 101 training, but I think sometimes as directors, we forget the basics or we ignore the basics. And bookings from your bookings is, again, how you have your personal business working like a machine without putting a lot of energy into it. And bookings from your bookings is the way that you do that. You stay in a frustration cycle when you're always having to drum up new business. Always having to drum up new business each month. You start the first with 0 bookings, and you got to frantically book 10 by the 5th, and then you hold all your parties, and then you start the next month with 0 bookings because you didn't book from your bookings. Okay, so if there's one skill you might want to really master, that would be it. That's an important one. Okay, so then questions in the packet to help you process this information and that will help you to tighten up this system. You guys, I know you have the packet, but I want to read them to you. What are your strengths? Okay, so we're trying to pull out your sweet spot. Like what's your sweet spot in your personal business? What are your areas of improvement? And in the perfect world, what would your personal business look like? Like in the perfect world, how would it go? What would your schedule look like? How would it feel? How much time would you invest in it? How much would you sell? How much would you profit? How many people would you be in front of? Who would you meet? How would it work in your schedule? I mean, you just want to think, like, in the perfect world, how would your personal business operate? And even stuff like who cleans your skincare class bags? And who unpacks product orders? Who ships products you didn't maybe have on the spot? If you're doing all that stuff, I would guess you probably don't want to work your personal business because it's too much stuff to think about. And so what can you delegate of those things? Okay, in the perfect world, how would your personal business operate? And then I want you to just do a brain dump list of the things that you think of. Look at the list and start highlighting the top 3 things you need to implement now. You can't change it all overnight. What are the top 1 or 2 or 3 things you can implement now so that your personal business operates more like a system and more like a machine? Okay, brain dump it out, highlight the most important things, and that's going to be something you're going to do after this hangout. Okay, let's switch to new consultant systems, you guys. When I went through this program with some of my directors, I feel like this one is the most commonly rated a lower one on the scale of 6 to 1 with strength to weakness. I feel like this is often like a lower one, and not just in my area, but when I talk to directors all over the country, this is often a big area where people have a lot of questions and really have little to no systems in place for this area. So let's talk briefly about new consultant systems. You want to start by getting really clear on what you want your consultants to do. And here's the question you ask. And this is in your packet. In the perfect world, what would they do and know within their first 6 to 8 weeks? Okay, in the perfect world, what would your new consultants coming into your unit do and know within their first 6 to 8 weeks? And you do a brain dump, and you literally brain dump it all out, everything you can possibly think of on paper. Then you look at that list and you start plugging it into systems and delegating it and making it systematic. But it starts with that brain dump, which you can do in your packet. The next step, you guys, is to track it so that you are inspecting what you expect. Okay, so you're expecting these things to happen in their first 6 to 8 weeks, but how are you going to keep track of it? How are you going to make sure it's happening? You've got to track it. And so let me give you some examples, because I know sometimes when I say the word tracking, some of you like pull back and you stop listening. And I've got a tracking training that I'm going to do on another hangout. So I will save my tracking soapbox for another night, you guys. You can look forward to that. I won't get on my soapbox tonight, but you absolutely have to track this. I mean, you absolutely have to track it, but here's the good news. You can do it in a way that works for you. I like spreadsheets, so I used spreadsheets in an iPad. It was my most favorite way to track new consultants. Some of you would die if you had to do that. And so I have a sales director, Katie Colson. She has whiteboards in her office that have all of her new consultants written on them in a marker, and all the things she wants her new consultants to do, and she checks them off, and they're in her office so she can see them, all her new consultants. She's a high IS personality, and that's how she likes to do it. I have another director, Andrea Bartz, who has a Google Doc form, kind of a spreadsheet, but it's highlighted with different colors and color-coded and a lot of details, so she can take notes and plug people in and figure out what they're doing and what they haven't done, and she can pull it up on her computer or iPad or phone, and she keeps track of it like that. Okay, so there's a million ways to track your new consultants. You don't have to do it like I do it, but I think you do need to do it. There's got to be a way that you're inspecting what you're expecting with your new consultants. Okay, I think there should be a healthy combination of systems plus one-on-one FaceTime. And you've got to decide that. I get that question a lot, like, should I do welcome orientations over the phone or in person? And you know what? I've done different things for different seasons. And so you just got to figure out what season you're in and what works for you. But there does need to be, at some point, some kind of FaceTime with your new people. The way that I did that was at my weekly meeting, as much as I could. Not everybody was local to me, but as much as I could. I worked hard. I worked really hard to get my new consultants there. The other place I did that was at guest events that they had the option to go to. So I felt like I was always in front of my unit through guest events and meetings. And then another place I really intentionally did it was new consultant training. And I was very, very intentional about that. And I would get in front of my people. And when you're in front of them face to face and have FaceTime, you start building relationship and rapport with them. Other than those things I just mentioned, everything else was pretty much on the phone, or systematic, or through videos, or through website training. So I had some systems, but I didn't totally negate the FaceTime with them. I had some good FaceTime with my new people so I can build that relationship. I'll briefly let you know how it rolls when a new consultant comes into my unit. We immediately send her a welcome email. I now use BombBomb with a welcome video, and I will post it in our Facebook group so you can see it. It's a video of me, just real brief, welcoming our new consultants. BombBomb is a beautiful way to incorporate video into your email, and it just looks nice. You may need to up your email game in today's world by using Chimp Mail or BombBomb. You guys, a regular email with small font that's not pretty, that doesn't have nice links and pictures and videos, gets deleted. Okay, so you may need to up your email game. And so we send that welcome email. In that, it has an embedded image of a YouTube video that I want her to watch with a big play button. I mean, she can't miss it. And she plays that. It's about 35 minutes long, where I go over inventory options on YouTube. It's like I said, a YouTube video. After that, we have a 15-minute conversation, either a day or two later. In that conversation, I talk about the importance of communication and how it needs to be two-way. I talk about meetings and getting plugged in and how she can do that when she can come. I briefly talk about some prizes she can initially earn. I talk about the 12-step program, which I'm going to mention in just a second. I talk about being a star consultant so she can have a debut. I know not everybody does that, but in my unit, stars that came in got a debut that I would come help them with. And then we talk about her business power plan and inventory options. I will be posting some of these things, but just so you have access at your fingertips right now, you can find these things at lealaughlin.com under consultants, and then you click on new consultants. It has my whole 12-step program for new consultants with everything you need, from flyers to the business power plan to videos I've created. It just has everything right there on that one page. I did switch to a 12-step program a couple years ago. After I debuted as a national sales director, the 12-step program are just little flyers I text out, or they can see them all at once on my website or my app. And it just walks her through the first 12 steps that I want new consultants to do and to know within their first 6 to 8 weeks. And this is how I started it. I started with a brain dump and said, what do I want my new consultants to know in their first 6 to 8 weeks? I brain dumped it out, and then I made it into a 12-step systematic program that they can be on the fast track with and do it in a week, or they can take a little bit at a time, so they can take it at their own pace. And I am mentioning that in the welcome orientation and asking them if they want to be on the fast track or if they want to take it one step at a time. And so you don't have to have a 12-step program. You don't have to do it like I do it, but it does need to be a system that flows for you. And we need to be doing the same thing with every new consultant as they're coming into our unit. New consultant training, that's the next thing I want to briefly mention, and then we need to just like keep on moving through this information because of time. But new consultant training, this is a big one. I am like passionate about this one, and I think this one is, it's so important to really nail this with your new people, is to equip them to go out and be successful so they're not out there spinning their wheels and getting frustrated and wanting to quit. Okay, we've got to equip them, not enable them, equip them, empower them, teach them to think about their business, teach them to work strategically and smartly, teach them to get results, teach them to make money. As the leader, we take responsibility for doing that. We don't expect our people to just get it. Like, they shouldn't have to just go out there and just get it and figure it out. Now, do you go do every party for her? Absolutely not. But you train her and equip her. And then the best way is to have her come and watch you. Have her come and watch you do your thing and do your party at your parties and your events. That is how you can equip your people. And so new consultant training, how can you make this really awesome? Okay. Now that I've been a national sales director for 3 years, I've kind of made this connection between this season. I had this season of really strong new consultant training. And now that I'm like 3 years out from debuting as a national, I'm seeing the link, and I'm seeing the strength of directors and consultants it produced. And it's just been a crazy link. I'm like, wow, so many people came from this really intense season where I was very intentional about truly mastering new consultant training, and not just with the presentation of the information, although that is a part of mastering it. It's just learning to teach it, learning to transfer it. But it was also in being more intentional about building the relationship and finding out about her dreams along the way, and making sure she's plugged into the unit and feeling like a part of the team and a part of the sisterhood, and supporting her and finding wins that are important to her. It was all of that. It was all of that. And there was just this season in my business that I was, I guess, more intentional than ever about doing that. And it produced a lot of strong directors and consultants who are here today. And some of them are consultants who will never be sales directors, but let me tell you, they got a pretty good customer base. And some of them, you know, they may or may not hold parties, but they've got customers who order, and they stay a pretty active consultants just in the customer base they built in that, you know, tiny window in that small season of when they were holding parties. And so new consultant training can produce some strength in your unit. And there are so many different ways to do it, and I think I've done it every way under the sun. I've held it on one Sunday a month for 4 hours. I've held it 2 Saturdays a month for 2 hours each. I've held it 1 Saturday a month for 1 hour each. I've done it before my meeting. I've done it after my meeting. I've done it on conference calls, although I wouldn't recommend that. I didn't really like that. I've done it every which way, and there's pros and cons to each. And I think it just depends on what season that you're in. But just pick something that works with your schedule and works with the season of life you're in right now, and run with that. But be intentional about it, and don't wait till you have new consultants, like a lot of new consultants, to start it. Start it now, build it now, and they will come. Okay, build it now and they will come. Do celebrate completion. Like, how do people know they're done? And what kind of celebration is there for the people who finish? I strongly believe it should be in the newsletter with who completed new consultant training. It should be celebrated at every single weekly meeting for who graduated MK University or Pink Boot Camp or whatever you want to call it. It should be celebrated and recognized. Again, you want to inspect what you expect. And so how do you celebrate the completion of new consultant training in your unit? How does that roll? Okay. So, new consultant systems. That about covers what I wanted to share with you. In your packet, you list your strengths. We're pulling out your sweet spots. What are your areas of improvement? And then it's that brain dump you need to do by asking yourself the question, what is everything you would want her to do and know in her first 6 to 8 weeks? And then again, do that brain dump and then start highlighting the top things you need to do. You can't change everything overnight, and I don't even want you to. Remember what the focus, we are just trying to focus on, the few things that are going to produce results. And so what's 1 or 2 things that you can change this month or implement this month? Or maybe even put it off till next month because we need to close out January. But start with your brain dump and then slowly start chipping away at that list. And then the last question is, what can you do this week to move forward in tightening up your new consultant systems? And here, before I move on to meetings and events, I want to just do a little brief little pause here to say that I don't want you spending any people time on this, on creating systems, okay? Okay, there's 2 extremes. There's people who avoid systems and you just don't even want to take a second of time to implement them. And then there's people who love systems and they could spend all day making everything in their life so systematic. And so that's what you do. You spend all day doing that and then you don't do any IPAs. Okay, so we want to bring it to the middle and we want to recognize the value of systems, but we don't want to spend our people time, our 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. time on creating systems. This is before 9 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Okay, maybe 30 minutes each morning and another 30 minutes at night you spend on creating your systems. Never during the day, ever, 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 ever. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. People time, family time. Before 9, after 9, that's when you chip away and making your systems and making things a little bit more systematic. Never 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Okay? I don't want to get Facebook messages about this week that you spent in your office behind a computer screen creating your systems. I don't want to hear about it. Okay, so meetings and events. Let's move on to that. Okay, so something with meetings and events that covers a multitude of issues that you can have in your life and your business is having personal guests attend your meeting. So I'm going to ask you a question. In the last 90 days, which is about 12 to 13 weeks, okay, in the past 90 days, 12 to 13 weeks, or in the past quarter, how many times did you have 3 or more personal guests at your meeting? 3 or more at your personal meeting. I would want you to say at least 10 times out of the last 12 to 13 meetings that you've held. At least 10. That's what I would want you to say. And if you're not saying at least 10, that is a conversation we're going to have in another hangout about bringing personal guests to your meeting. Okay, so I will cover that in another hangout, but we don't have time for it tonight. Just know that it's coming, so you can look forward to that. The location needs to be consistent and professional, and people need to know what to expect. And so the agenda and the timing, all of that needs to be consistent. If too many things are changing too often, it stunts your growth because people can't follow it. They can't keep up with it. And then if they can't keep up with it or follow it, they're like, forget this. I don't have time for this. Okay, so it's got to be a consistent, professional location. People need to know what to expect. The agenda needs to flow consistently. I think a good place to start with your meeting is making a list of what bugs you. What bugs you about it? And if you can identify 1 or 2 or 3 things that bug you and then change those things, that can often help to improve the overall flow of your meeting. A big question, what's being recognized? What is being recognized? If I walked into your meeting, would I know your goal and your focus without even having to ask you? Do your consultants know the goal and the focus without even having to ask? Do your consultants know where they can win without even having to know anything about Mary Kay? Because they should. They should see it in visuals and through what is being affirmed and talked about. This is one way you can inspect what you expect. Also, don't wait to have winners to recognize it. Build it and they will come. I think a red jacket table or some sort of red jacket recognition is really important. And a lot of you may just be waiting till that moment when you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 red jackets. But don't wait. You create a head table for reds and let it be empty. Let it be empty. Let people see where they can be. Let people compete to be the first one that gets to sit at the table. Okay, build it, and then they will come. Don't wait until there are people to recognize to start recognizing different aspects where you really want to see growth. I think one thing that came up in coaching my directors was affirming consultants. From the moment they come in to the moment they leave, you want to just be loving on them and giving to them. And we do that with our eyes. We do it with our body language. We do it with being present in the moment and intentional with our people. And we do it with our words, especially when somebody's up at the front and has graduated new consultant training, or you've got your queen up there, or somebody moved up the career path. You want to learn to affirm them for who they are, not what they've done. Okay, for who they are. You want to see the good and say the good. It's called I see you acknowledgement. A compliment affirms for what is seen. Acknowledgement affirms for what is unseen. And people want to be affirmed for what's in here, not for what's happening on the outside, although compliments aren't bad. Compliments aren't bad, but you want to acknowledge your people for who they are. And for how who they are is playing into success in Mary Kay. And we focus on that, not just on her performance. Okay, so I think some of the biggest mistakes in affirming is bringing someone up there and saying, you're doing so awesome, girl, at this rate, you're going to be on target for your car next month. And we think that we're building them up with these words. But then all of a sudden, next month, they are not on target for their car. They missed it, or they fell off, or life happened. And then they don't want to go back to the meeting because you just told 10 other women that they would be on target, that she would be on target for her car, and she's not. And so she doesn't want to go because she's being affirmed for her performance, not for who she is. But if she's being celebrated for who she is, she wants to go every week, whether it was a good week or a bad week, because she knows that people see her. She's being seen at that meeting for who she really is. Okay, and so I had to really practice this. This was not a natural skill for me as a sales director. One thing that I learned from Jessica Anderson, actually I watched her do this and thought it was awesome, is she actually wrote out postcards beforehand to just different categories of what she was going to recognize. So this was pre-thought out. You can't do this all the time, but whenever you can, I think this is powerful. She wrote out postcards and she read it to them. And so I started doing that before every meeting. I would write out postcards to the people I knew I was going to recognize. And I would stand up there and I would read it to them. And it was very moving. It was like, you'd think it would be phony or fake. It was very, very moving to actually spend time thinking about intentional words that I could use to affirm them and to be able to read them in front of other people. It taught me how to make someone feel special and important and affirmed. Another thing that I did is with my key people, when I had a lot of DIQs and reds, I had them in a prayer journal with their pictures. It was a digital journal that I had their pictures stuck in there, and I picked 3 words that I admired about them, qualities that I loved about them. And when I would pray for them, I would read those words. And it helped me to love my people for who they are and not for how they perform. And it helped me in affirming them, because when they came up to the front and maybe I was on the spot and needed to affirm her, guess what I thought of? I thought of those 3 words. I thought of her joy and her compassion and her confidence. And I was able to speak those because I had spent some time thinking through and really trying to see the good in my people. So that helped me to affirm. And then a couple more things real quick. Are you boldly closing guests in the same way at every meeting? Okay, you should have a system for that. Like every meeting, you close it out the same way with your marketing, your iStory, your dream book possibly, and then you give your guests a decision, even if there's only 1 or 2 people there. She still gets a decision, and you do it the same way as if you had a big crowd in a big room. And the way I always did it was A, B, or C. A's were the yeses. Those were the people who were going to fill out agreements, and they came to the front and filled out their agreement. B's were buy me a coffee. Oh, and A was absolutely, I'm ready to get started. B was buy me a coffee. I'm interested, but I need to think about it. We would set up a career survey with the B's. And C's were customers, people who were just being happy customers, and they loved Mary Kay, wanted to support their consultant as a customer. We would set up career surveys with these people too. So we set up career surveys with the B's and the C's. The A's got agreements to fill out on the spot. Okay, so we did A's, B's, and C's. And I closed out the meeting the exact same way every single time. Then I went up to everyone afterwards. Okay, that's another important thing that I will cover in another hangout. Every single guest, I went up to her eyeball to eyeball and had a conversation, had like a little mini interview about the business opportunity. Number one, to see if I could close her. Number two, to build a rapport with her so that when I did follow up, I had more of a connection with her. Here was my most favorite format to my meetings, you guys. It was 6:30 to 7 p.m. were facials that were led by consultants. And so from 6:30 to 7, people were just kind of coming in. Consultants were getting their trays set up and guests were arriving. We just had music on, and I was just walking around the room, just meeting people, trying to build rapport, trying to make a connection with consultants and with guests. And so what this allowed for is that if someone was late, okay, if someone was late, like let's say she's 15, 20 minutes late, she really still had time to come in at 6:50 and from 6:50 to 7, get her facial, her miracle set, satin lips, and foundation on. She had 10 minutes to do that with her consultant. So even people super, super late were still ready to go at 7 p.m. And 7 p.m. is when we kicked it off, and we did introductions and recognition for about 30 minutes. After that, consultants went to a separate room for training. As we grew, we split it into new consultant training, and we split it into seasoned consultant training. And I would have red jackets teaching the seasoned and the new people. Or it was me, we would kind of rotate. And then somebody else, either myself or a red jacket, stays in with the guests to do their dash out the door look. So miracle set, satin lips, and foundation is on by 7 when we start. After introduction and recognition, she gets her dash out the door look from 7:30 to 8 while consultants are getting training. And from 8 to 8:30, we did marketing, which was my iStory and dream book. And then we closed out the guests. So really the main time was 7 to 8:30, but then there was the 30 minutes tacked on the front end for their facials. And then it usually took at least 15 minutes afterwards to close everybody out. So that's how my meeting rolled, and that was my most favorite format that I ever did. Okay, let's go through questions in your packet, you guys. Oh man, where did it go? Okay. Meetings and events. Okay, again, what are your strengths? What are your areas of improvement? What would the perfect weekly meeting look like for you? Okay, in the perfect world. What bugs you about your current weekly meeting? Do a brain dump addressing every detail of the perfect meeting and highlight what you can implement immediately. Okay, brain dump it all out, but remember, you're only picking one or two things that you're really going to implement or change. Okay, let's move on to career surveys with unit. We've got a lot to cover in a small amount of time, so let's keep moving. Career surveys with your unit. What is your method for booking them? I think the best thing I've seen is the You Can Book Me app, where you set up your schedule and your consultants have a link and they can fill in career surveys as they book them. Best thing I've ever seen is this app. And I think it creates boundaries, okay, because when your consultant boxes you and says, I've got this sharp girl, she can only talk at 9 p.m. It's the only time that she has is 9 p.m. tonight. Well, that's like your protected family time, maybe. And so you don't want to say no to her. You want to talk to this sharp person, but you made a commitment to your family to be available and present in the moment. And so then you're faced with this dilemma. And that's a tough choice sometimes. And so when you have this You Can Book Me app, there's no tough choices. There are no tough choices. You create your boundaries in the app, your consultants see it, and they book within those boundaries. And there's never the tough choice, and you never have to say no. And And then your consultants are happy because they know when you're available. Okay, so you got to have boundaries around that and a method for them booking you that honors your boundaries and honors your family time. How do you track them? How do you follow up with prospects? How do you track career surveys with your unit? How do you follow up with prospects? We are going to cover that in another hangout, so you can look forward to that. But we will cover tracking your unit career surveys and following up with them. Do you have a clear goal that you communicate with your unit and recognize consultants who are participating? So like, what's your goal this month for your unit career surveys? And how many agreements is that going to produce? And how do you communicate that to your unit? And how do you recognize people who are participating, who are doing 2, 5, 10 career surveys with you to contribute to the unit goal? I think that's an important piece of it. And we will dig into that a little bit deeper in a future hangout. How are your career surveys, especially ones on the phone? In person, it's super easy to be present in the moment with somebody, but I'm sure you guys do some on the phone too. And it is way too easy to just go with the motions, go through the motions, or multitask, or be distracted, or be checking your Facebook while you're having a career survey. And so are you approaching the conversation focused on her, present in the moment? And what I like to do is to create an image in my mind before I call her. Okay, so I envision her praying for something like Mary Kay. I envision this being a blessing to her family. I envision her actually coming to me a year later and thanking me for introducing her to Mary Kay. I envision her in a director suit on stage in her moment of glory, debuting as a brand new sales director. I'm like creating this image in my mind before I'm talking to people on career surveys, because I just gotta get in the zone. You know, you just gotta like do something to get yourself excited about the 100th career survey you've done that month. And so that's what I would envision. So I would get excited. It costs me nothing to envision her like this. It costs me nothing. If it doesn't come true, I'm not out anything. And the likelihood of it manifesting is much more higher because you get the life that you create and you get what you expect. And so I want my expectations to be lined up with people coming into this business and being blessed by it. Okay, career surveys. In the packet, what are your strengths? What are your areas of improvement? What needs to change about your system for doing career surveys with your unit? Okay, let's move on. Unit communication systems and recognition. This is a big one, you guys. This is a big one that covers a lot of little small subtopics. In our Epic family, we have the Gen X program. It's basically a way to track a perfect start or a power start or a power start plus. We just call it the Gen X program. You may have a similar program that's called something else, but it involves this program. It involves the Star Consultant program. It involves moving up into the Red Jacket program. It involves a book 10. That's another thing we have in the Epic family is a book 10 by the 5th to set up your month. This involves company promotions, company events. I mean, it just covers a broad spectrum of programs and events and lots of communication and recognition that's happening. So it's a lot of stuff, but thankfully, this is the biggest area you can delegate. You could almost delegate this entire system once you get it set up. Okay, this involves email, birthday, anniversary, and status updates and emails. This involves training messages from you, like what is your voice like in front of your unit? How often do they hear your voice? Okay, the sheep know the shepherd's voice. And so are you creating intentional quality training for them? Or is it constantly passing on someone else's training messages in someone else's voice? There's a time and a place for that, but you want it to be your voice out there for your unit. And so how effective is your training that's going out on a daily basis to your people? So yeah, unit communication systems. So the one thing I'll say about this before we move on to the last one, because I really want to honor our time. I know we started a little bit late too, so I'm going to go a few minutes over, but I'm wrapping it up here. So unit communication systems, a big one is the Star Consultant program. one thing I've created is 10 Voxer messages. Yes, it took 10 to fully cover how to implement like a rockin' awesome systems for building stars in your unit. Okay, Mary Kay took the bonus away from that area, but that doesn't mean we don't focus on it. Okay, it would be a crime in your unit and for your production to not sink your teeth into the Star Consultant program in your unit. It would be a crime, and you miss out on a lot of wins for your people and a lot of production. And so in an effort to keep this in front of us, even though the bonus is gone, I've created 10 Voxer messages on how to create tight systems for Star Consultants. We're gonna pass on, I think, 2 a day in our Voxer and Facebook group throughout this week. So you can kind of catch some things as we go this week on how to create strong systems for stars. Okay, unit communication. In your packet, what are your strengths? What are your areas of improvement? Do a brain dump for everything you want to communicate and recognize on a weekly basis. Highlight what you can delegate. Okay, and then what are your next most effective steps to tighten up this system? Okay, last one, you guys, coaching and moving consultants up. The biggest thing that impacts this system, are you ready for this? The biggest thing is number of new agreements per month that you're adding. I think so many people try to focus on coaching everyone in their unit because they want to be a national, so they figure they have to develop and coach leaders. And so they're like, okay, who can I coach? Who can I coach? When there's no one to coach or no one who wants to be coached. And the only way to have people to coach is to add 10 or more new agreements consistently every month. 5 is maintenance, 10 is growth. What is 8 or 9? New agreements. That's maintenance too. Okay, 5 to 9 is maintenance. 10 or more is growth. It's 10 or more consistently, month in and month out. That I really believe is the only way that you consistently have a core group of people that you're coaching to the next level in their business when there's 10 or more new agreements. We will dig into this a little bit more in another hangout, so you can look forward to that. So what would it take to increase your new agreement number? We'll talk more about that. Real quickly, my system for coaching and moving people up, I always did live calls in the beginning of the month with my key people to sort of set up their month. And then we're always talking throughout the week through Voxer at the weekly meeting as we're doing career surveys. So there's always little mini conversations that are happening throughout the week. But we did the big live call at the beginning of the month to set up her month. Usually do another live call mid-month. That's when you're checking in and you want to see how she's doing and how things are going and how to really strategically create wins as she wraps up the month. For DIQs, pretty much was talking to them live almost every day for most of my DIQs, except some very independent ones. So that was sort of my system. Was just that beginning of the month, mid-month live coaching call, and then lots of communication that happened in between. Okay, you guys, so here's what I want to leave you with and encourage you to do. I hope and pray you're not overwhelmed, but feel empowered right now to make some really intentional tweaks, because that's all it's going to take is a couple tweaks in your unit to tighten up these systems. And I want you to book some time, like right now, like tonight. Pick some time before 9 and after 9. For however much time you want to invest into this, in going through these and really identifying your top 3 next best steps in any category. In any category, what are your top 3 next best steps? And then you're going to have a list that's much, much longer than 3 things, you guys, but I give you permission to throw the rest of the list away right now. And just pick 3 things. Throw the rest away, or just put it on the table to the side for next month or next quarter. We can't change everything all at once, and we want to learn how to focus. Hashtag what to focus. And so what are your top 3 next best steps that would tighten up one of these systems or be something that would create significant growth in your unit? and then spend time implementing those before 9 or after 9. Let the rest go. Let it all wait for another time. Okay. Okay, you guys, let's see. I got to see what time it is. Yeah, so I'm going to read a little story as we finish up because I want to, and I'm just going to decide I'm going to go 10 minutes over. So I'm going to go for another 6 minutes and then I will let you go. I know it's late. It is way past my bedtime. That's for sure. Okay, so what I want to ask of you as we wrap this up is just for your very, very best. Just your very, very, very best. I mean, the most of you, all that you can give. And what would that look like? What would it look like to focus more than you ever have? What would it look like to work smarter and harder than you ever had? And what impact would it make on your seminar goals if in these next 4 weeks you just like gave it your everything? Okay, so I'm going to read a story about giving the best. And I think it's a very beautiful, beautiful story that kind of paints the significance of us each giving our best. And this will just take a few minutes. I'm going to read a story of former President Jimmy Carter, who years ago, he applied for service in the Navy under Admiral Rickover, who was known to be an incredibly intimidating man. And so this is Jimmy Carter's account of his interview with Admiral Rickover. Okay, here we go. I had applied for the nuclear submarine program, and Admiral Rickover was interviewing me for the job. It was the first time I had met him, and we sat in a large room by ourselves for more than 2 hours, and he let me choose any subjects I wanted to discuss. So very carefully, I chose those about which I knew the most of the time, which were current events, seamanship, music, literature, naval tactics, electronics, and gunnery. And he began to ask me a series of questions in increasing difficulty. In each instance, he soon proved that I knew relatively little about the subjects that I had chosen. He always looked me right in the eye, and he never smiled. I was saturated with a cold, nervous sweat. Finally, he asked a question, and I thought I could redeem myself. He said, "How did you stand in your class at the Naval Academy?" I swelled my chest with pride, and I said, "Sir, I stood 59th in a class of 820. And then I sat back and I waited for the congratulations, which never came. Instead, he asked the question, "Did you do your best?" I wanted to say, and I started to say, "Yes, sir." But then I recalled the several times at the academy when I could have done more. I could have gone the extra mile, but I didn't. And so I finally gulped and I said, "No, sir, I didn't always do my best." And he looked at me for a long time, and then he turned his chair around to end the interview. He asked one final question, which I've never been able to forget or to answer. He said, "Why not?" I sat there for a while, shaken, and then I slowly left the room. And that encounter became Carter's thought starter for Carter's book, Why Not the Best? And my friends, it is a worthwhile question for us all to ponder. Why not the best? Why not the best of you for these next 4 weeks? And does not the woman who claims to walk with Christ owe her Creator the best and excellence of every day that we're given to live on this earth? And I'll ask that again. Does not the woman who claims to walk with Christ owe her Creator the best of herself and excellence for every day that we've been given to live on this earth? Okay, so I hope you're ready to dig in and to dig deep and to give all of yourself for the next 4 weeks. I think you will be happy with the results that are about to unfold in your life and in your business. All right, good night. You guys get some sleep. Love you. I'll be in touch. And let's do this thing for the next few weeks. Hashtag the one thing, hashtag what the focus. Have a good night.